Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tangents and Shenanigans. Full crew is here again. No audio issues this time.
Nope,
Magically,
we're in the
knock on wood.
clear.
It 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 working. I'm just kidding. I was gonna
Don't I
destroy that
worry
one.
about the mister. Guys, I'm just going to say, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling
Same.
good. This episode, I'm just going to say it, it has restored my faith in the trajectory of where I see the show going.
Same.
And I'm gonna tell you, like, it was not including the intro. Great intro, by the way. We'll get into that. But into the episode, I think it's maybe uh 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes into the first scene with Ellie and Dina. Um, and then all of a sudden there is a tonal shift and you can feel it, you can see it, and I'm like, Ellie's here. Ellie has arrived finally to this episode. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, "Oh, baby, here we go." So, what was your guys' first impressions of this intro? With, Hanrahan coming in, trying to look like she's, like, a badass, like, person. Like,
I
we don't
I
really know who
liked
she
it.
is, really. And
Yeah,
then
I
she's just
liked it
coming in.
because it kind of shows the hierarchy with the wolves a little bit more. Because obviously we saw Isaac and his part,
Yep.
last episode, and this episode we're starting to get a little bit more of the whole leadership and what you're kind of getting the little behind the scenes of what's been going on with them, just a little bit, you know.
Yeah, because you see like all these you see all these wolf soldiers, and it's showing like these sealed off, welded shut like entryways, and it's kind of like an ominous tone, and there's like a feeling of like dread in the scene. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but it was interesting, just kind of like showing that in little like clips, and then all of a sudden we see Hanrahan come into a room with I believe her name was Lee Park,
Hmm.
one of the wolf soldiers. Could be wrong on that first name, but that's what I remember. um and, she's smoking a cigarette, she's sitting on the table. It seems like it's gonna be like an interrogation, but once Hanrahan sits down, she's like, tell me what happened. And then Lee Park states, and this is one of the moments I think, Nick, you've really been waiting for, and we've kind of been anticipating. This is
Hmm.
the reveal of the spores. And the way
Yep.
it's delivered is there was a group of soldiers that were clearing the lower floors of the hospital. So they stated that they already cleared levels 1 through 6, and then it was time to work on the basements. So it's like we went to B1, nothing was there, not even rats. And then once we got to B2, sent a team, including Lee Park's son, leading the team, and they go into B2, and I guess like after several minutes, radio contacts back, and they're saying that you have to seal it off. Like, we're all infected. It's in the air. Like, the infection is in the air. And as soon as that is addressed, as soon as Lee states that, did you guys notice the facial expression that Hanrahan had after that?
She looked
Mhm.
terrified,
She was like, "Oh fuck."
and
That
for
was like
good
a
reason.
"Oh
And
fuck."
you know what? It kind of shows too is even if you have a solidified base in the apocalypse,
Hmm.
especially if you're at a hospital, that's like ground zero. So it's like it may not be like the safest place to be if they have to board things up like that. If you really think about it.
Well, it's like, in I guess in the show, they have running electricity, so they found a way to either have a backup generator supply. I'm guessing how they're powering up that hospital. Um, but it is kind of like a critical resource for them to have, is very important to them. But what Park was saying is like, we noticed like none of us were exposed, so we knew it wasn't going through the ventilation systems. Otherwise, we would have been sick weeks ago. So they know that they're safe at least above the basement levels. But as of now, they sealed off records of any information coming out of that, and they're saying like anyone else is on a need to know basis. As far as we know, like the basement was cleared, it was a success, and we're moving forward. Um, but I did like how they just it was just a scene of them just talking, smoking a cigarette during a very stressful reveal of information. Like that was a pretty cool intro. I love those out of pocket moments that you don't expect in this show. Like in season 1, the best one I would have to say is in the very first episode when it sets like it sets the threat, like it establishes it right off the bat on that interview talk show. And then in episode 2, when it's the scientist, and she's like, revealing that no, there is no cure, like there is no vaccine for this. Like the only solution is to bomb everything if this thing has gotten out. Like it's nothing that you would have known in the game, but just something extra for the viewer. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I liked it. I like that.
I
Um,
thought there was like one possible improvement to it that we could have
hmm,
done. I actually wanted it to be a little bit mysterious because I thought that this could have been a big reveal.
which
And
it was.
well, it was a reveal, but in the beginning of the episode, like I would have loved where like it's not even a where they're being vague about it. Like you could just cut the scene to where she's about to say like, "Wait, like why aren't they coming out? Like why do they lock
Oh,
themselves in?"
Oh,
And then she does a
right.
look,
Yeah.
and then they cut, and then you're like, "What was that about?" And then
Yeah.
when they're, obviously in the future
later in
episode
the episode.
when they're being chased, and then they kind
Hmm.
of go close it off, then you start it like starts building that like mystery and that curiosity, and then you could like kind of really like explore, really kind of create that being kind of a like a little bit of a plot kind of steroid. And
Well, like
so
a plot twist steroid.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
then but
Hmm.
it's not so much about the character because most of the characters are
I
gonna
like
know
that
it.
actually, Jacob. That's a
It
good idea.
Yeah.
it's more like the audience starts to find out because you kind of I mean Ellie doesn't know. It's really only the girl that the what was it?
Nora.
Nora? Nora. It's
Hmm.
really only that Nora knows and like the other people, but you could be vague about it until Nora talks about it. And then it becomes this like, oh no, there's like another variable to think about. So I think that's my only critique is that they kind of like gave out the situation and was like, oh, you could have totally used this as something to like really get the curiosity out of the audience. So I think
Yeah.
that's my only thing. But I think it was fine overall, and I'm glad that they're adding it. And I have great other feedback about later scenes on it. It just
Oh,
that's
I
what I was
know.
thinking is like, how can we make this better? Like I feel like you're telling me. I don't want you to tell me.
They just
Um,
like instead of giving you like a tasteful side boob, they just showed you full vag. It's like here you go.
They gave you the full plate pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, that actually is becoming kind of a theme in the last like few episodes, and I'll bring up one other instance where I felt like I noticed it,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
where I'm like, you didn't have to do that. Like you could have done this in a different way. But I'll hold my peace on that. So
After that whole wolf intro, we cut over to Dina listening in on the wolf radio patrol conversations, gathering information, being a very resourceful character in this journey, while Ellie's just, oh, I turned on the power. And you know what? We did not see Ellie turn on the power because they didn't want to show her messing around with an extension cord.
Oh God, I remember doing that shit, dude, in the
Oh
game. That took
man.
forever. Like that was like a good 20, 30 minutes of trying to get the theater just to run.
Dude, there was
Like
a struggle sometimes,
it was like
right?
a full
You
dude.
get so confused.
Well, here's the thing. I remember, and this is kind of funny. I was playing like right as I got to the theater, and you had to like do the power. After I spent like 20 minutes getting the power on at the theater, I was like, man, I'm done playing this game for the night. I'll pick it up next time.
Yeah, cause I remember like when you go up to like where the generator room was, you see like that the guy with the tool bag like completely
Yeah.
crisped. Oh, I was
I
going off the
do like
rails
I
here.
think the little detail I liked in this scene.
Mm.
Obviously the kind of logistics. I like these little logistical like high level like strategy ideas of like, okay, here's how we're gonna get there. Like, here's how this journey is gonna go to get from point A to point B. I liked how they were making the comment about like they're not even talking in code. They're just having open line communication.
Oh
That
yeah.
seems a little sloppy. And then when they started putting two together, like, oh, I don't think that those like Scar people are using radio. That's probably why they're so confident is they feel like no one else is listening on their channels.
Oh, you're
And
She
right.
has
I
she
like
has a
that
whole
detail. Yeah.
and she has a whole monologue of like Amish, like explaining Amish tradition to Ellie.
Yeah.
They refuse to use technology. Like it's modern times, but they still stick to like old rural ways. So if they're you only using bows and arrows and hammers, I guarantee you they're not using radios.
Yeah. I did like too, like, and this goes back to the logistics thing too. Like when she's plotting on the map of the routes, and she kind of points out, like, hey, they're not even checking this building out. And she kind of gives Ellie the look, like, why do you think they're not checking out that building? And it's like, because it's probably full of infected and whatnot, and they're not going to
Hmm.
just, touch that building.
Yep. Um, and then like shortly after that, like Ellie's kind of like cramping Dina style. Ellie's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go explore. And this is what I really liked. It enters the scene of the stage, and you see like all those seats. I'm like, like that was a really good feeling just to see that, hear the score in the background playing.
Hmm.
And then she like slowly walks up on the stage, and then once she picks up that guitar and starts strumming the chords, she only says the first verse of Joel's song that he sang to her. As soon as she says that, you can see emotions playing and circling in her mind. And all of a sudden, you no longer see like that happy go lucky Ellie that's on a day adventure camping trip with her best friend Dina. Like, you
AKA
see,
Dad.
yeah, you see, yeah, Dad Lightyear. The you see the anger come back out. Like Ellie in this moment remembers why she's here. This is when I'm like, okay, I noticed it, like hooked to the very end. So I really liked how this episode has been playing out just in the first few scenes.
Hmm. I was shocked that that theater was so well intact.
Yeah.
Right?
I was
Hmm.
like, wow. I'm like, for an apocalypse, man. No one's in here.
Yeah, because I remember in the game, the theater that they went into was more kind of run down, like boarded up. Everything was
There were a
kind of
bunch of like boxes
disheveled.
and crates
Yeah, and
everywhere.
even the stage and backstage. Well, actually, they didn't show the backstage yet because I know in the game, like when obviously the fight thing happens later on, is the backstage area is all full of stuff. So we'll have to kind of see how that goes.
Did you guys kind of feel the same way that I just expressed?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did. I forgot about the song, but I feel like I'm noticing the transition of kind of losing one's humanity where a few episodes ago, or was it last episode or a few episodes ago, she's kind of doing like a full song, really getting into kind of um kind of a musical sense. And then this one is like a shorter version of that. And I'll be
Hmm.
curious if it transitions even more where like she can't even like play anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could
Or
be
it'll
it
be
could be good
Kind of
interesting to
like the
foreshadowing.
see.
transformation of losing one's humanity.
Yep.
I'm thinking she might do the song again, and I have a kind of a guess of what's when that's going to be. Is like when we get the stuff. Obviously later on, I have certain thoughts about like how that might go.
Well, the one thing I was gonna say is, I know like when the episode starts, it reveals like the director, and I noticed like, oh, Stephen Williams. I'm like, okay, who's he? Um, once once this scene was over, I had to like look him up. I'm like, hold on, dude, because you're onto something. I'm like, okay, so he's directed a handful of episodes of Lost. He directed like one of the one of the episodes of Watchmen, which I heard was a good show. I mean, I watched the movie and liked it, didn't like love it, but it was one that I like. I don't know. Have you guys ever seen it? Nick, you said you didn't see it, right?
What?
The Watchmen.
No, I never seen it.
You mean the
Um,
movie or the?
the movie, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. Did you know
That's not,
that
isn't that Zack Schneider?
it? Yes, yeah.
Huh.
I loved his work in this episode. I'm just gonna say it. I recognized what he was doing. He saw a lot of elements from the game, incorporated as much as he could, because I don't know if his intentions were to include more for like towards the like cater towards the audience or the fan base, um, or just make a very ground because this episode felt grounded in several moments where there were points where you're stuck in a situation and there is no clear way out and you're gonna get hurt no matter what. And that's repeated throughout this episode. I'm like I'm
Yeah.
like glossing over this right now. Like I'm feeling good. I'm feeling
No,
good, but
it felt it did feel most honorable to the source material, like in terms of like what the tone and what the overall like feeling of the setting and atmosphere and
Mhm.
like and the pacing. I felt like this started to feel like it felt very familiar of what I was watching, and so I'm gonna say that was a good thing.
And then shortly after we get Ellie and Dina setting off because once they formulate the plan, it's like okay, so then our only way through is to like get through this building of possibly infected, evading the wolf's patrols around the buildings, but we have to be quiet, right? Which they're
Hmm.
not going to be. We already know that. And
When they're
then
like, "We have to be quiet," I'm like, "That's
good
like,
luck.
all right, kids, be quiet," and someone turns off the lights. I'm like, no, someone's gonna start screaming.
It's it's funny how they keep mentioning like they need to be quiet, but throughout the episode, they're just making noise left and right and just talking above normal level, uh,
Yeah.
volumes. You know what I mean? Like, it's a minor critique, but it's just like, I accept it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just something that's kinda funny. But once I just had to, like, mention this, um, once they, like, walk down that street together, uh, right as they, like, set on their journey, did you guys not tell that that was green screen? Did you see that too when they're
No,
walking down the
I
street?
wasn't paying attention to that.
I I don't think I saw. I know you mentioned that to me like before, but I didn't catch it myself.
I don't know. I don't know if it was like from like a reshoot perspective or what, but the following scene is them like walking through the street. Um but just like that first shot looked screen as fuck. Anyways, um but this is the other thing that was interesting is shortly after they're walking down, Elise like prompted with this thought where she addresses the concerns of Dina's, in light of her pregnancy. It's like questioning like her motives. Like, you know what? Like, I don't even know if you should be here right now. Like, I'm so stupid.
I like this
And
conflict. I actually
and
think it's better than the game, personally.
But
Yeah.
it was a reflection. Like it was a very close reflection of the game where Ellie starts out like saying like, "Oh my god, like I'm so stupid. Like you're pregnant and you're here with me and like we're in danger and there's threats all around what are we going to do?" Like I loved how we saw this moment of vulnerability from Ellie. And Dina then says like, you want me to stay? You want me to go? Like, you just tell me what you want me to do. But, um, like, if I'm in it, I'm in it 100%. Like she states that, and she even shares the story of her first kill because she makes a comment to Ellie as they continue walking. She's like, you never asked me about my first kill, and it was when I was 8 years old. And basically she heard her family getting murdered by this raider, and she was able to, kill the raider, but was tormented with the thoughts of if she had been in the house when the raider was there with their family and what she would have done if the raider would have, made her watch. her family get murdered in front of her, and what she would have to do to live with that if the raider left, and then she couldn't kill him right away. So it's like she kind of addresses like Ellie's motive here. It's like, I get it because if I was in the same situation, I would hunt that man every day, like until he died, until
Yeah.
my mission was completed.
Hmm.
So Dina kind of like empathized, like, look, like I know why you're here. I'm here with you because I get where you're coming from.
To be honest,
Regardless.
Dina is they've made this show's really made Dina very important.
Yep,
Yeah.
gold star,
Very
another gold
no,
star
but
for
very
Dina.
like valuable in terms of like keeping Ellie alive, which I think that like a lot of people kind of questioned in the game, like why is she here? This one, I feel like it's harder to argue. Like, no, she's breaking down survival strategies. So
Yep.
they've
Yeah.
really like made this a very critical character and a relevant character.
Yeah, because like I know in the game she's just more of like just a support, like of just as a friend. But in the show, you're getting the full, like, what would you call, like, the complex character that she is, and like we mentioned before, she's more valuable in the show versus the game.
She has well, this one she has more of a practical value, I feel like, and then in the other one, I feel like in terms of the story, there was more value. So in the like adding the internal conflicts of Ellie, that's you know, like Dina is adding that fuel to that fire. Whereas
Hmm.
this one, it's like I feel like she's relevant for the plot and for the story. Like, hey, you need to get to A to B. I'm gonna teach you how to get to A to B. But also the story being about like cycle of violence and like losing humanity through that. Then the
Mhm.
game, I just feel like it's just the story part of the cycle of violence. Like I don't feel like she adds as much value in the game of like other than being like, "Oh, I got your back," like you're about to get killed or something, I'm here,
Well,
like
she's kind of like the shining light if you think about it, the beacon
mhm.
of light for Ellie, and for those, and for those around her. And like Testament in the first episode, like everyone's looking at you. It's like she lights up a room. Oh my gosh.
Hey, are we
Sorry
getting a
guys.
cameo?
Sorry, I forgot to put on Do Not Disturb. Okay. Here we go.
Hey, I didn't know we took live calls during the podcast. What's your question?
Yeah. This just in.
This it's Joey Diaz. Let me tell you something, dog. All right,
Let me tell you
Dina.
something, brother. Go. Oh man, Joey Diaz. He's a national treasure, like Nicolas Cage.
Mhm.
Here was the other. This is the other funny thing I noticed, and this is like I think the second time I've noticed it so far. Um, it was either in episode 3 or 4, I can't remember which, but where it was like a very quick day to night transition. I'm like, okay, so we were in.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, so what? They just been chilling for a bit, out in the
Well,
streets,
I
in the
know here's
alleyways, and
yeah,
then they
well,
get to
the
this
thing
building.
is they can't really show, like, obviously in the game in day 1 and day 2, we're exploring each little building one by one. Like, you guys probably remember where you either go to the bank or, like, the,
That's the first
different
area. Yeah,
buildings.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, that's
so and obviously they can't do that in the show because it would just take so long and it'd just be more,
filler.
filler. Yeah.
Hmm.
It'd almost be like, how in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 where they're going on their camping trip and they're going from spot to spot to spot. I remember in the books they would literally, be in that, these spots for a long period of time. But obviously in the
Hmm.
movie, the way they did it is they kind of did the little shot for shot where they showed them in each different area as they progressed. So with the show, what they're doing, it's like, okay, here's daytime. They're about to, explore, Seattle, but we can't really show their full exploring because it'd just be too long. So that's why they're doing the little snippet at nighttime, and then they're at their kind of destination.
It was. I know. Like I get it, but it just seems like very abrupt. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, now. Well, we're here. Fast travel.
It's what they do. They
It's
fast
almost
travel.
like
Yeah.
in game they just push start and then choose to like wait for several hours, and then like that's kind of like how it feels. Like, oh, okay, we're here now. Anyways. but But once they're inside the building, they formulate like their plan of attack before approaching the next entryway. Interesting about this is they were stating the obvious, like, look, wolves are around us. If we choose gunfire, they're gonna know where we are and they're gonna come after us, likely. Um, and we're already outnumbered, so that's not good. So we go in with knives and we try to be quiet. And if shit hits the fan, we just run back out,
Oh
prioritizing
yeah.
running.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like
I
that. What?
I this is my second little gripe. It's a
Mhm.
very minor gripe. I felt like we not overthought, but mechanicalized these like scenes. Like they kind of keep doing this. I like it on a strategic level, but when they're
Almost like
like in
over exposition.
yeah, there's like this over
Hmm.
like especially at this kind of level, this very like tactical operational level where there's like high stress, and then they're sitting there for like a few minutes talking about like some of it seems pretty obvious, especially for people who've grown up in this situation. And I just kind of was like, I don't know. It's kind of like if you're getting like a crazy tutorial for a game and you're like, why am I being
Oh
taught how to
my
do
gosh,
this?
that's exactly it, Jacob.
Oh wow, you
That's
You know
get
what I mean?
yeah.
I'm
exactly
sitting
it,
there like
dude.
it's like
Yeah,
press
you're
A. It's like
right.
I'm pretty confident like it would be the equivalent. I feel like here's the like for a video game. Like when you're playing a game and they kind of do a little pop-up about like, oh, press the AX button to do this. I feel like this is like those old like games and like the PS1, PS2 where they would
Yeah.
stop and do a cutscene and be like, like Metal Gear Solid goes, do you know that if you press the A button or the circle
Press the
button
select button.
to do like they would open the codex and make you do that, and you're just kind of like, why do I need to like be handheld like this? Like, and why do these characters feel like they need a handhold themselves? And so it just went on, and I'm like, we don't need like it made Ellie seem kind of incompetent. Really, I'm going like, why
Yeah,
does this need to be a conversation? Like, I don't need to overcomplicate this. Like,
You know what it
right.
seemed like
Like they
too?
should know it.
It's
like this is
almost
like
like when you
season
pick up
one
a
Walking Dead.
yeah, well, the way it is too, and just going back to the point of like, like tutorials and everything else, it almost seemed like too, where it's like if you play a game and you drop it for a little bit and you come back to the game and you don't know the fucking controls. I think that's what's going on too, where it's like because from season one, she learned how to do all these things from like, especially like when she had to take care of Joel when he was, AFK for a little bit, in the
Mhm.
snow area. So now it's like, where the hell, you know, where'd that
Yeah,
go?
no, I see your point, Nick, but again, like we have to remember that even though she didn't embark like on a year-long journey of experience, she still had patrols and little excursions with Joel, Tommy, etc. like over the years. But you're right, like some of that survival instincts are, they're not as heightened. But yeah, I see both your guys' points. But Jacob, that was so funny. Like as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh my god, I'm just thinking in my mind, like, can I just push X to continue, please? I've played the game before. I'm just doing a new game.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I'm
Oh
glad I'm not
god.
the only one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not.
But well, and to expand on your point, Jacob, it's it's replicated when they're in that storage area and they notice that there's a clocker up on that one tote, and it's like looking at them and you just see like the piercing like light in their eyes reflecting off their flashlights. That was really cool. I loved that.
Yeah.
Where it was just crouching there and like looking at them, and then they just sit behind the cover and they're just having a full-fledged conversation like, okay, what do we do? It's like, no, these are one of the smart ones. So yeah, like, Jake, I see what you're saying. Like in that situation, Ellie could have just said like, yep, this is what we're gonna do. Like,
Like it could have been a quick spark notes of like this. Got it. Okay, let's go. Like, because they're also in a place where they're supposed to like be stealthy. So it's like I'm like, all right, we don't.
Yeah.
Let's come on. We're professionals here. Anyways, so
and
that's the other one where I was like, this could have been better if you just didn't like. I felt like we just spent too much time on it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, we're killing the momentum. Let's go. Let's get going.
and
Yeah.
Because the
what's
next scene I dug. I dug the
Yes.
next scene.
'Cause this
Yeah.
is what was interesting, so, like, setting it up, like, they're realizing that they're surrounded, and they're like, "Okay, well, we have to go back the other direction." It's like, "Okay,
Well,
fuck, like,
I
we can't
loved
do
when they
that
were like,
either."
"Oh, there's one. Okay, okay. You go." And I loved how they're like, "You do this and I'll flank." And then they're like, I don't know if they saw a second one. They went, "Wait, oh, that's two. Okay, hold on. All right, now we can do this, this." And then they turn around, there's like three more. And I'm like, "Guys, all your plans just went out the window."
Yeah.
Like,
You
I
spent
loved
too much time planning, you overplanned, and you didn't act first.
Yeah. Or just it just to be honest, it reminds me of D&D where
Yep.
like you spend all this time planning. I'm like, you haven't even like completed a turn. It could be it's actually what makes it really hard. It's hard to like come up with a plan when you're, by the time it gets to your turn, it can be a completely different environment. So it was
Right.
very fast paced and very quick changing. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I don't know how. I was sitting there like, I don't know how you're getting out of this. Like
And
this is wild.
that's that's what was and I think that's what's important to take away from here is there was no clear way out with them being surrounded,
No.
and in this situation Ellie made a Joel-like move, where, she said, like, "Look, I can take bites. I can take this, so to speak. You go hide in that crate, and you fend off as many as you can, but,
Who
you need
thought
to be
that? Okay,
safe."
real quick. Speaking
Mm.
about that, who did you guys think they're going to show her game bit again? I almost when she was getting on the fucking ground when they
Oh, I
grabbed
thought
her ass, I for sure thought they were going to show her game bit again, and I'm like, well, gotta put in our check mark on that. Like we've already seen it. Like,
She
I thought
No,
they were
she
gonna
did.
flail and, like, cut her up because I know that, like,
Yeah.
some of the other that's what I was wor
yeah,
she's like, "I can get bit a million times." I'm like, if I remember, you get beat up to death, like, you get
yeah,
beaten.
right.
You're not just
Like,
like,
they'll
"Oh,
bite at you, but they beat you.
they, like,
They'll whack
claw
at
you."
you. Yes. So that's something that even Tess states. It's like, sure, like you can survive bites, but you can't survive getting like hacked to death. I did like the setup to the scene. And then how it shows like them fending off. I'm like, as soon as Ellie was in the middle, I'm like, okay, you're fucked. Like you could
Yeah,
have like you had no time to strategize where your next move was gonna be. You just had to react. So it did seem kind of elementary for these two, known to have experience. But again, like as the scene plays out, um, Ellie's now surrounded. She's tackled down really quick. She's able to get off like several shots. Dina empties her magazine into one of the stalkers, and now they're starting to peel away at like the cage that she's locked
Mhm.
herself in.
mm-hmm,
So it's like, oh fuck, tensions are high. Like, what are we doing? And I'm thinking like Ellie's gonna still shoot at the enemies on the cage, and she does. I
yeah.
don't but it's like you're still like not killing like the ones around you, like to move. So I'm thinking like,
Well,
okay, is
granted, in
Ellie
that
not
aspect
thinking a way
too.
out?
Well, I think at that moment, the reason why she's shooting at the cage is she knows, obviously, with Dina and her situation. So that's probably why she did that.
Dude, when she shot at
Maybe.
the cage, when Ellie shot at the cage, I'm like, "You're gonna hit Dina."
I know. That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too. I'm like, how tragic would that be? You're trying to shoot the little infected, and you shoot, your, friend who's like freaking prego, and you just fucking offer right there, on
Yeah.
accident.
hmm But and then just in the nick of time, someone comes to save the day. Gunfire comes from a different direction. Now,
Hmm.
this is what I was thinking at first. I thought it could have been like the WLF responding to the gunshots. At first, I thought that's what it was, but then when I only saw that it was
I was convinced it was that, and I was like, "Okay." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, they're screwed anyway." And then, yep,
Yeah.
you can say it.
yeah, and then we slowly see like the silhouette of like just like one person taking down like all the stalkers in the area. Turns out and I'm like, okay, this is Jesse. And
Yeah.
you see a hand reach out. Ellie doesn't see like the clear picture.
I like how it's all in black, kind of like Joel. Because remember in the game when Jesse arrives, she thinks it's Joel reaching out to her or
Okay,
whatever.
because
Yeah,
that's one of the questions I was gonna ask you guys is what do you think Ellie was thinking in this moment when she just saw one person like reaching out the hand to grab her?
I think she was thinking it was probably Joel.
I
Like
thought
I
so
said, it was
too.
because the way they panned it, where it's the dark silhouette. Because remember, the last time the last episode Joel was in, he was wearing all black, so it kind of made sense a little bit. Maybe I don't know.
Or it could have just been adrenaline, you know?
Yeah,
Just like, I just need to react, and it's not trying to shoot me. Could have just been straight
true.
up adrenaline.
Yeah,
And it is revealed that it is Jesse. Dina gets out of the cage and like, "Oh, you guys good?" Like, "Yeah, no, Ellie didn't get bit." And Dina's like, "Yeah, I saw her. She didn't get bit." and then, and it's like, "But you did take a graze to the arm." So I'm like, I'm like, "You did, but how soon is it gonna take until Jesse notices?" You know,
yeah,
like Ellie has to keep that jacket on until she's able to cut and burn herself more, mutilate herself to hide the
yeah.
bites. But what I liked actually is Jesse's performance in this episode, as short as it is. I think he definitely capitalizes on the screen time because as they're like escaping, Ellie's like, "How did you find us?" And he's like, "Well, I saw the map that you guys left at the theater." Foreshadow,
Mm-hmm.
foreshadow. And he's like, "Yeah, you guys did it was a pretty good job at triangulating their positions." She's like, "Yeah, Dina did it." He's like, "Yeah, I knew you wouldn't be able to do that." I'm like, "Oh, burn."
Burn.
And
Well, and
then
then he goes into the part where he's like, "I don't wanna talk to you, like, basically right
exactly,
now."
Yeah,
he's mad for having him and Tommy to come rescue them.
yeah. And I'm glad he did say that little snippet that Tommy did join him. So Tommy
Yep,
is out there, just like the game.
he's arrived as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes,
So we thought, because we thought he was, because of how different the show was going with this character, we thought that he might just stay in Jackson because obviously his priorities of the rebuild and his wife and kid and whatnot. So it's just, we thought this was going to be during Tommy, but now this shows us like, okay, we're getting everything from the
set
game,
up.
at least up this the
Yeah,
setup at least. Yeah.
yes. Like all other players are active. Player signing
Yeah.
on. Player signing on. Yes. Well, where is he? He's like, well, we separated. He wanted to cover ground. I'm like, yep, he's sniping. The sniper has arrived. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. He and Jesse even states that you know once we rendezvous tomorrow, we're going back to Jackson. And
Yeah.
Ellie's like, no, fuck that. Like, I still have unfinished business here. He's like, we're not discussing it. Like, we're going. So this is also playing in the back of Ellie's mind. And then as they're evading the WLF, they make it into the park,
Mm-hmm.
and the WLF are like, "Stop! No, we can't go in there." So then Jesse's like, "Oh fuck! Like now, what do we have in here?" Like Dina's like, "More infected." And it's like, "Well, we don't know, but we could take it. Like we have no other choice."
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know what's in there. We do.
Yeah,
We do.
Mhm.
we do. And
Ah,
I have thoughts on this. So
go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna kind of take over. So obviously, within a short moment as they're going through the park, we hear the whistle and we know where
Hmm.
that whistle's from, and they slowly pan on the scar slash seraphites. And here's the thing, I wish they would have saved this as their reveal than showing us the clan that got chopped up to death,
Yep.
because I loved, like, here's the thing, the little hints that we got at the station, like the little radio station or whatever, where they put the stuff on the
Even the
wall
bodies.
and the bodies. That would have been the best, just to show that instead
Yes.
of
Not
them
them alive.
before.
Not
Yeah, not
showing
them
like
alive,
them.
because then it's like, okay, what's this mystery, right? And so
100%.
now
I
when you're
100%
going
agree
into
with
the
this.
park, yeah, and it's like now when you're in the park, you're like, what the fuck was that whistle? And then they show the one of them with that little like carving thing or whatnot, and it's like, okay, this is what we remember in the game, because I still remember going in that park for the first time and not knowing what the fuck was going on, and it was so quiet, and then you hear the fucking whistle and you're like, what the fuck was that?
And then you just get shot with an arrow.
Yeah, and here's the deal. So I like how in this scene they were showing them watch this group take
The,
that WLF guy, hung
mm-hmm.
him up, and started being like, "He has sinned and must be forgiven," blah blah blah. And in
They
order, and you
cleansed him,
see,
bro.
yeah. And the thing is, it's like they see him just like ripping his shirt and getting ready to do the belly thing. And right as they, obviously after they rip his stomach open, Dina's not watching. Ellie's just like, "What the fuck," right? And I love that in that moment you think that they're just watching this, but then we get the arrow, we get the,
Mhm.
and I
Well, it's like
loved it. Yeah,
it's an alerted whistle, and
yep,
it's like, "Oh, shit." Like, they were just sitting
yeah,
still and they were
yeah,
spotted.
oh
Like,
yeah,
and then Dina gets hit just
in
above the
the
knee,
knee,
taking an
yep,
arrow to the knee.
yeah,
And this is what I really liked is now this officially takes her out of the game.
yeah,
Um,
hmm
so okay, now Jesse's gonna have to carry her out of here, and we have to like, are we gonna fight our way out? Like, what are we gonna do? We gotta run. Ellie's
yeah.
like, no, you guys go that way. I'll lure him this way. So Jesse and Dina make a run for the theater, and Ellie like lures some of the Seraphites like in her position and trying to like run away. And shortly after evading successfully, the Seraphites like they whistle off their alert status and they go back to caution status.
And what's funny is the Seraphites think that they're WLF, which is funny
Right,
as
because they
well. They
didn't.
don't know. Yeah. And I
I
love
like
how
that
like
layer.
Ellie just kind of like hides in that tree. And it kind of reminded me of the game's artwork that we got. And I don't know if you guys remember it, where Ellie's behind the tree, like waiting with her
With the
like
guitar.
gun. No,
Hmm.
well, they have the guitar, but also the gun. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a cool callback that they're actually using that tree. So I was like, okay, this is dope. And I love how after, they leave and she's in the clear, I love how they panned the shot where you see the pathway to the theater and the pathway to the hospital.
Hospital.
And I'm like,
Yep.
that is cool because that gives us, because like obviously in the game we have the map of where things are at, but just where it shows the proximity of where these things are, it just kind of all connects it together. And it's like, okay, this is a really good kind of central point of where they're at. And
It's a
I love how
it's
she just kind of booked it to the next level.
Yeah, like it's a good gauge of depth, like in the game. Like you can see where you need to be, the end game is, but you don't know like the clear path to get there. But you just know like off in the distance that landmark is where you need to be.
Mhm.
Um, so I did like that this was like that conflict with Ellie, where she's like, "Where do I go?" I'm like, "Oh, dude, this is it." Like she's going because she knows like if she goes back to the theater, they're going back to Jackson. But if she goes off here, it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a detour, and then I'll still go back to the theater. But I'm fucking going to this hospital. I'm going after Nora.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to speed up pacing too for
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
versus the, speed up pacing versus the game because she could literally just like not go back to the theater and then try to just like keep spending more and more time trying to like get to the bottom of it. And then when maybe she decides to finally go to finally confront like Jesse, other subsequent events happen. Like I could see that happening. And so
hmm
I'll be curious. Yeah, I agree with all this.
so the next game mechanic that we get, anyone want to call it
Stealth.
out?
Yeah, the stealth in the grass, right?
Stealth grass
With the
crawl,
dogs.
baby.
I thought it was kind of cool how they did it too, because it just harkens back to the game of there's dogs obviously, and they have that scent, and being able to crawl through the long grass and just trying to get away. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, like I liked it. It was like a nice little callback, a little bit to the games of the stealth aspect.
God, those dogs stress me out.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what they were gonna do. Like I was kind of like I was borderline nervous once the dog started. Like once they showed the dog, I'm like,
hmm
uh-oh. And then once it starts barking, I'm like, uh-oh. And then once the guard starts going over with the dog, I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like,
Yeah, the
fuck, fuck,
dog
fuck,
smells
what's gonna
that beef
happen?
jerky.
And yes, that jerky breath.
Yeah.
And and Ellie crawls, and then you just see like a hole in the building. You don't even see Ellie. She's a
Yeah.
fucking
No.
ghost. You just see like a hole in the bottom corner of this building, and the guard is just like, "Oh yeah, it must have been a critter that
Yeah.
set the dog off. False alarm." And I'm like, "Okay." And then this is what I wanted to ask you guys. Uh, I l yeah, I wanna withhold my, opinion on the next scene, but did you guys think that this next scene was gonna be how they were introduced, or did you think there was gonna be something in between? That's
Uh,
that's my question.
so
Like, traversing through the hospital, do you think that was gonna
Mm,
happen?
um, I was
no, I
thinking
think because they've
probably
already
not.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
probably not. I think they had to just kind of jump to it because they, insinuating kind of the other things to follow. I don't think you spend time doing that again. You've already kind of gone through that
Yeah,
phase.
and like they kind of said with the show, they
I
weren't
actually was
going to
happy
do
they,
scene per scene where there's combat or stealth sections. Like they didn't want to do that. So for them, it's like, okay, she's in the building. You assume that she's going to go around, do her deal, but we don't need to show that on screen, you know?
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I agree with you guys, first of all, because I thought this was a necessary cut, because you see Nora in the room tend this wound, right, on this girl's arm,
Yeah.
and then, she goes back into the room to, like, douse the bandages, in water, and they're kinda, like, all bloody, soaked, and then, she's kinda, like, lingering there at that counter for a bit, and then I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna happen." There's, like, some dialogue with another character, and Ellie comes in. I'm like, "Okay, this is
This is
this is
it.
happening."
oh, and I just
And
love that failed intimidation where she's like, "You're gonna tell me," and then she's like, "You know what? I'm gonna throw fucking chemicals at you and run."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like she
Yeah.
would, like it wasn't this like, okay, fine. She was just like, "No, I'm not
There was
intimidated by
no
you."
extended monologue or anything. She was just like, "I'm not giving you shit," and she threw that right at her, you
And she's
know?
like, "Yeah, and I'm not breaking, so
Not before leaving a burn right before that by saying like, "Yeah, it was terrible what happened to him, but I'm glad it happened, that, whiny little bitch." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
Yep.
So, yeah, Ellie didn't like that one bit.
yeah."
So
No, it made
then
Nora kind of badass. I was like, good for you."
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then she takes off, and now we got a chase scene, foot chase scene. And while Nora is like running through the hospital corridors, she's like yelling at the other wolves, like "Intruder, intruder! Like shoot, like shoot her, fucking shoot her!" And Ellie's like evading the shots, and
I'm
Yeah,
glad
I,
that
I was
they
surprised she didn't get hit by some
yeah.
of them.
she
Yeah,
got
I'm
that
just
plot armor,
glad that
baby.
she was actually yelling, "Hey, there's intruder!" Because in the game, you're just chasing her throughout the whole hospital, and you wonder, it's like, aren't they hearing you run around here and there? And obviously, in the game, we get shot at too. But it was nice that she's actually yelling, like, "Hey, we got someone here," while she's running. But I will say what's funny during this whole chase scene is it's just like the games where they throw all that stupid bullshit at you while you're trying to catch up. Like I
Yep,
remember the first time playing and I got fucking hit by a gurney or some shit and she got away and I had to restart the freaking
encounter.
encounter
Oh
and I'm like,
fuck.
ugh.
Yeah, dude, because Nora throws the wheelchair in her
Yeah.
direction, right? And
Yeah.
doesn't she say, "Hey, Jacob, you said you were waiting for this part, right? Don't you hear her say motherfucker like in this episode?"
Yeah, I wanted to kill him and be like, "You motherfucker!" Well, no, and she grabbed the pipe. That I was like, "Yeah, grab
Yeah.
like a different weapon." No, you know what?
Yeah.
Actually, I was waiting for, but I don't
Hmm.
want to get to that yet because we got to give praise to the fucking set design for like the
Yeah.
spores. Oh, that was
Oh
so
yeah.
pretty, and it felt gritty, and it didn't feel too polished.
I
Oh, it was a
loved how the
great.
spores were coming out of the mouth because of how it just was it's just showing the ominous of how it's their breath and it's just coming out and I'm just like okay this is dope.
Such a cinematic shot. There were so many, like I could tell that they like it was almost like they had the what do they call them? There's a term for it where they kind of draw out the scenes, the breaks. I forgot what the term's called, but anyway, I'm like, oh, I could have totally seen this as like a concept art, and then they like
Well,
put
like the
this in frame.
sketches? Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
the
like
concept
sketches.
art?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like
Well,
I
what
could, I
was
saw some shots. Where I was like, that was probably a sketch, and they really like had it come to life.
okay, I wonder what it is for you, but like talk about the scene cuz like right before I want to get back to this. But like before we even get like the spores, Nora has to like make a decision to like go through the sealed area. She goes through the elevator
Hmm.
shaft cuz she's got like nowhere else to go. and Ellie's now shooting at her, shooting in her direction. So she jumps down the elevator shaft and then runs away. And then Ellie's now in tow and like low lighting and everything. And then that's when she walks in that corridor and sees the spores. And this is actually like one of my favorite shots is when she's in front of the doorway and you see like that long stretch of just like room after room with the spores growing on the wall and you just see like
Hmm.
Mhm.
a clear pathway. That is really cool. I agree with you, Jacob. Like the scene design for this was really on point.
And I'm glad we got that shot too, where Ellie's staring at that one quarterstaff on the ground, and it happened to be the lady's son, the
Yeah.
revered. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I thought that's cool. And for a second, I think, and we'll get later. They'll probably show it later when she's doing the crawl. But you guys remember where she's crawling and she sees like that little flashback of Joel on the course up. I thought they were
Yeah.
going to do it here for a second when she's looking down.
Oh,
I thought that could have
interesting.
been a good part for her PTSD where she's looking down at this course up that's kind of just stuck there or whatnot. And I was almost waiting to see if that was going to be the part where maybe they just flash his face real quick on there just
Yeah.
as a like a but I'm glad they're kind of probably saving that for a little later.
They might. I mean, you may not be wrong. I don't think you're wrong. I think they will show it again. Maybe in season 3.
Yeah.
Because they already showed it in episode 3 in like the hospital as soon as she wakes up. So it's like that gave us like a taste of it. So they
Hmm.
might sprinkle it in later on. But what I did like before the confrontation of Ellie and Nora is Ellie sees like the power switch, turns it
Hmm.
on, red room activated.
And
Oh my
here's the
gosh,
thing.
I kept saying this,
I mm,
and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "This scene's cool, but I wish they had that red lighting on." And then when I saw, I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, "Yes!" I was
So
I was like waiting
so
for it. I was like, "I hope they do it," and then they did it. It made me so happy.
yeah. So here's the deal, and this was one of my favorite scenes because it's almost there's a certain thing that they show, and it's a quick thing, like where it's like if you don't see it, you'll miss it type deal before she meets up with Nora.
Mhm.
I don't know if you caught this, and remember in the games, if you remember when Ellie confronts Nora, you hear the Rat King behind the door barely,
Yes.
but and that kind of tells you like, okay, that's when Abby was dealing with it at the exact same time. Because remember, they're parallel universes. As she's running towards Nora, and I don't know if you guys caught this, but they showed like a little window scene, and in the window area was the ambulance, and I'm like, that's yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
ambulance, and I'm like, that's the ambulance that Abby's going to
Mhm.
take with the Rat King, and I'm like, that just little, it's a little quick and you miss it type deal because it's the parallel of the stuff. So obviously we're going to see that later, but just seeing that right there, I'm like, oh, I know what that's going to be for later. I'm like, yep, I definitely know. I know what that's going to be used for. So I kind of like how that's how they showed it because we didn't hear any
Just a
noises while she was
subtle
confronting, right?
reference.
You guys didn't hear
Mhm.
any noises when she was confronting Nora, right?
No.
No. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah.
So we end up getting Ellie in front of Nora, seeing that she's in like a really bad state, like breathing in spores, and Nora's like, "You dumb bitch! Like, we're both infected now. Like, there's spores in the air." Um, and as Ellie walks closer with her gun drawn, pointing at her,
I like the
uh,
smirk.
yeah, Nora notices that she's not wheezing at all, and it's like, "Oh shit!" Like, and this is when it clicks for Nora. It's like,
Hmm.
you're her. Like, you're the girl. I thought it was just a rumor. Like, you're real. Like, you are immune. And then I like how Ellie is just still like stating, like, where's Abby? Like, you're gonna tell me. Like, you're gonna die here anyway. Just tell me. Help me out here.
Yeah.
And Nora's like, yeah, no, I'm not giving you shit. And
That, by the
Ellie,
way, what a mad respect for that character. Even like on the, he's just like, no, still fuck you.
mm-hmm,
Even in
Because
the moment of
honestly, she
death,
has no
yeah.
reason to. Like, she has
Yeah.
no there's no, she knows she's dead. Like, she's not, I mean, she's
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but it's not to the point, like, it's not something that's being inflicted by Ellie. Like, there's no leverage that Ellie has at this point to give it to her. There's nothing there's
Yeah,
no reason to. Like, I would have been really disappointed if she goes, "Yeah, this is where she's at." It's like, why would you do that? Like,
yeah.
there's no point. But then obviously then the torture part comes out because Ellie's like, "All right, I need to get what I want, and I'm just gonna take this fucking pipe,
And I
Mhm.
loved this
gonna
scene
beat
because
the
this is
shit out of you."
where we finally got to see the Ellie that we've all kind of been waiting for. Because I feel like this transition to when she was beating up, what was his name, David, at the restaurant or whatnot,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that Ellie coming out, I feel like that's the change we kind of needed because
Yep.
obviously the Ellie we saw so far this season has been kind of like a little immature still. Like, she still has her immature nature of
Behind
how
the
she
scenes,
does
I would
things.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
This
it's
was pretty
just,
violent, yeah.
yeah. So I loved it. And it just shows it's like, okay, now we're starting to get into the dark aspect of this revenge tour deal.
Yeah.
I wish Ellie had a little bit better dialogue. Like, she kinda just, like, was just saying the same thing over and over again, and but it didn't feel like it had as much weight as I wanted it to, and I was
Mm.
like, I feel like there'd be something cool. Like, this is a great cinematic moment. Like, I feel like there could be an opportunity
I
for, like, a
almost wish she
cool.
had more, not necessarily dialogue, but I wish she showed maybe like in the game, of course, like when Ellie's about to not like when she's not getting what she wanted, you see like Ellie kind of twitch her face and she's just
Mhm.
like starting to just fucking have this pent up emotion come out, mean like, like fuck, I'm not getting what I want. And that's when she turns all, ham on her or whatnot. And in this scene, it's like she's just still kind of looking at her like, you tell me what you want, but the emotion is, I don't know, like something was like the emotion was there, but it's just I felt like I wish it was just a little more like when she's not like getting her thing that she needs, like where Abby
Mhm.
is and whatnot. Yeah.
Well, what I did like is that I want to mention is when Nora was stating like, do you even know like to kind of like convince Ellie not to beat her? Like, do
Yeah.
you even know like what he did, like the people that he killed? Like
Mhm.
the only person in the world that could have conducted a vaccine from you, Joel shot in the head. Like there's no other way like
And
this
she
could
even
have.
pointed out it was a unarmed doctor too. Like they keep harking back to the unarmed part, meaning he wasn't armed. He was just a kind of like a civilian, just doing his duty for what he was.
Yeah, but in the game, I remember the truth. That man had a
Yeah, we do.
scalpel.
Yeah, the scalpel, man. That's a dangerous weapon.
And I shoved it in his neck.
No, you know what I did, and it was funny. I'm such a terrible person.
What?
I just was like, do I just grab the scalpel or be kind of cool, or do I like chuck a grenade and just blow the whole
Oh my
room up? And I'm
god.
like, okay, let me do some fun shit.
But I just liked like after Nora like says all this, Ellie like, takes a moment, but then
Hmm.
like quickly states like, I know. And then that's when you see like Nora's face change.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I'm fucked."
Yeah, yeah. And that tells me that we got she did talk to Joel. That kind of reaffirmed a few
Mhm.
things. Like because obviously we got the snippet where she just looked at Joel on the porch, but because she kind of said, "Hey, I know," but it almost seemed like they talked too. So obviously I think they're just saving that for,
Mhm.
later on.
And it might even be revealed next episode.
Yeah.
But Ellie finds out I think it was like before um a year before like everything happens in Jackson.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, I think it's like a year before, give or take.
It's either a year or 2 years, something like that. I don't remember. And then she moves into the garage. Um but anyways, uh yes, I think you're right, Nick. I think that there is that porch talk scene. And we're not going to get it for a while, but I do believe it's there. I do believe it's shot. And this is what I'm gonna say is instead of seeing the full beatdown, fade to black, all of a sudden we're in Ellie's room, birds are chirping,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like there's light everywhere. It's like almost like this innocence is like brought back. And then Daddy Pedro Pascal comes
Yeah.
through the door.
I honestly did not see that coming. I thought we were going to get the Fade to Black, and she shows up at the theater all bloody, like just like not necessarily her
Mm,
going in the theater, but standing outside the theater, and you just see like maybe like a pan shot of all the blood on her, maybe.
that's gonna be yeah, that might be like
Uh,
the next episode after all the flashbacks. We'll see. We'll see.
I have
Um,
some thoughts on what's going to happen next episode too.
well,
So,
I just like that the last lines are "Hey kiddo." Like we hear
hmm
that and then we just hear Ellie just say hi. Like it brought back like to happier times
could
with
you
them.
imagine the next episode for the title sequence? Like, you know how they only have the one spore that pops up as Ellie? Could you
Mm.
imagine they bring the other spore back for Joel just for this one episode?
I don't know. That'd be interesting. I know we didn't comment on it, but that was kind of interesting how in episode 3 we then saw only one
hmm
silhouette
Yeah.
in the
Fucking gut
intro.
punch. It's like
They're
he's
like,
dead.
"Yep, he gone."
He gone.
She walks a lonely road. But yeah,
Uh,
that was the episode. I really enjoyed it. I even enjoyed it the second time watching it. This is the yes, this is the second episode I've rewatched. Um, but in this one I actually really enjoyed.
yeah,
So
same.
I'm
Yeah.
excited for the next one. Um, what were your guys' overall thoughts before we go into theories for episode 6?
I would say I think they really kind of revisited some of the roots, momentum, and themes of the game, and it felt
Mm-hmm.
very familiar. And it felt like the familiarity really got me even more excited, and it put on a path that I thought really started making sense, where I could start getting a better picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that the only thing I needed was it had a lot of opportunities to make things more mysterious and
Yeah.
more and
Yeah.
to keep things from being slowed down. So, but those are it did not compromise the episode.
Yeah, I thought this episode was just solid. Like I was even telling Nate like the other day, like I thought this episode was like a good 9 out of 10 for me, just because of like it's just like you said, the familiarity and whatnot. But it also is starting to show the transition of the season, where now we're starting to get into the darker tone of it, because it seemed like
Hmm.
obviously Joel's death was pretty dark, but it seemed like a little lighthearted for the first few episodes, but now it's like, okay, we're now in the nitty gritty of, you have the Seraphites, the WLF, you now have Ellie who just completed her first mark, if you'd say, like, completing that task. And now it's like, okay, now shit's starting to kind of, move a little.
Yeah, well, move a little. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
everything is thrown at us. Like we have
Yeah.
Stalker Horde, we have
I
WLF getting cleansed by the Seraphites. We get Seraphites and their arrows. Like
in
we
my
get a lot.
opinion, I actually would say the story moved a lot and the plot moved a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Hmm.
say because I felt like all the other ones, it's been a lot of plot moving and a lot of setup, and I feel like this
Yeah.
was one of the first episodes where it's like, okay, now we're gonna start making like decisions that like almost go into a new act, and so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite some of the peeves of like the writing, with like, exposition where maybe it didn't need to be, not so much implying as much.
Mhm.
Because I do agree with you, Jacob. That would have been a nice reveal. Like once they got in the elevator shaft and you hear like the WLF, like, oh, they're in the basement. Seal them off. Seal them off. Seal them off. It's like, uh oh, like
Why?
what could this be?
Yeah.
And the same thing with like the Seraphites. Like I think that could have been a really good introduction if we didn't get.
I know. And I
It's
think
just
what
seeing them
happens is it
alive.
has to do with obviously with TV shows. I think that's what was the case for it, because I feel like the writer who did the episode where they showed the Seraphites, that was probably their kind of doing, where they wanted to show them off early compared to probably another writer who probably would have save the Seraphites reveal till later.
That's also
So
a contributing factor. Yeah.
yeah,
But I think it's also just to not just de-villainize them, but to also show like the human side. Like when I saw that in the earlier episode, I thought of, even though I didn't watch the show in its entirety, but as soon as I saw this clip, I'm like, oh god. In Lord Rings of Power, where it's like this in the second season, it shows like an orc family, right? And they're having a
oh
baby.
yeah,
I'm like, that's not how the orcs work. Like, come on now, what are we trying to do? Like, they don't just have families. Like the Seraphites don't just like have families.
You know what, Nathan? Orc lives matter.
yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? Want to have an open discussion for theories of what we think the next episode will be,
Yeah.
and do you think that'll still match up with our thoughts for the finale?
Yeah, I have some thoughts. I think for next episode, obviously, we're getting the flashback, but I do
The
think
birthday
what's going to,
scene.
yeah, and this is how, and I'm changing my way of how I was thinking. So I thought the finale would have the Abby fight scene that we get in the game, and then
I
after
don't
Ellie
even think
gets
we're
kind
gonna
of the
get that.
beatdown.
I don't either now.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen in the finale. I think it's going to be God, because now I'm torn. Because I think what's going to
Finish
happen
with
is we
that.
get,
Finish with that.
yeah. So I'm thinking we get the flashback, and then at the end of the episode, because it is kind of extended, which makes me wonder. I'm like, okay, are they really going to do a full hour just of them going through the zoo and everything else, right?
Mm-mm.
But I think the end is she's going to show up at the theater all kind of fucked up, barely meet with Jesse and Dina, make sure they're cool, and I think she's going to go into the theater to sit down and grab the guitar, and I think that's going to set up the oh God. See, and this is where I'm torn. Does she do that, and then finale? That's when you hear the shot ring out with like or whatever's going on, or is the finale where we finally get Abby's side of getting to you know, yeah, because you know what? I think the finale now
No.
is going to be, yeah. See, now I'm torn. So I'll
No.
let you guys kind of discuss what you guys think.
Well, I can see it. Um, I can see it going one way of, if it is a longer episode, they can either spend the first part on just this flashback
Hmm.
and then move the plot and story forward from that. Um, with Ellie returning to the theater, uh, and then maybe not seeing Tommy because he's still out. And Jesse and Dina are talking about like the pregnancy and talking about that. So that can also be like scenes um where Ellie's like, okay, well, you guys need to figure this out. You have to take her back to Jackson.
Oh, you know what?
I've
Too,
already
I'm
I've already
already
done this. What?
I'm already, you know what? And I'm being dumb for this. I'm forgetting that before even Abby shows up, she ends up killing the couple at the aquarium and
Right. So she
the
still
other
has
one.
a
So
lot
she
of
still
work to
she
do.
has a lot to do. So I'm thinking ahead because I think I'm just thinking how shows work where they skip things here and there, and I'm totally forgetting that before Abby even showed up in the game, she ends up killing. Yeah, so we're probably not going to get that till season 3 then. So
Yeah, because like I can easily see them splitting this episode between a flashback and then also like getting things done. Like showing the growing conflict with Jesse and Ellie. I almost feel
yeah.
like Ellie will say, "Look, I'll go find Tommy. You take Dina back to Jackson." I see that happening.
I'm almost wondering
Um
if we're getting the aquarium scene for the finale because that would actually
and
be
maybe
kind of
that's
interesting.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
That's the
feel
only
like
one I can
what
think of.
yeah, because
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is what they could do is let's say
That's
Nate,
kind
like
of
how
a
you put
weak
it,
ending, though.
yeah.
I'm not.
If you see the
It,
aquarium, like if you see, um, or it can even be Ellie finding out that they're at the aquarium. It can
I
even
don't
be that.
know because I'm trying to think like if let's say they do like you said Nate, like they half the episode is the flashback, and then let's say the next half is where she goes after who is it Manny next or
Nope.
whatnot.
She
No,
goes
Oh,
after Mel,
Mel,
yeah,
yeah,
Mel.
Mel, and
Owen is there.
then yeah, and then they do the corn. Yeah, see, now I'm
Because
torn.
Tommy
Yeah.
is the one that snipes Manny.
Yeah. What do you think, Jacob? What's your
I'm I'm not mad at the pacing that they're currently doing. I think that they're doing it fine. But now I'm just sitting here going, okay, how are you gonna fit and then end this on a crazy note?
yeah.
Uh,
Because
because
the other
I
thing,
don't think they're gonna get to the theater. I mean, we haven't even seen Abby like
I know.
at all. Like, there's still
I don't
the whole part of that we're missing.
right.
Um, so I don't think we're getting the theater scene. I don't even think we're gonna get much of Abby at
No,
this
You
rate.
don't think?
So I think, yeah, I think it has to be probably the aquarium.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because you're not gonna do. I mean, unless I don't even see how they could do this, but like, if they're gonna do flashbacks, they're gonna pan then back to Ellie. I would. It makes no sense to do. Oh, we're gonna do a bunch of flashbacks with Ellie, and then we're gonna go jump to Abby. I feel like that would be
Yeah.
such a
That would
disconnect
be
of an episode. But you need to have Abby's
hmm.
perspective leading up to her getting to the theater.
Oh, you know what could they? You know what they could do? And here's the thought: the only way they could fit Abby in, and this is kind of interesting. This might be an interesting way to do it. Is obviously they showed the flashback with them at the zoo, right? And then obviously it leads into Joel telling Ellie about what actually happened at the hospital, where he's like, "Hey, I shot a bunch of those people or whatnot," and then Ellie's like, "Hey, I can't forgive you, but I'm a try or whatnot." That dialogue, and I'm wondering during that part when after he kind of explains what he did at the hospital, they kind of fade to black, and it kind of goes back to that hospital scene again, maybe just for like a hot second, and then you have Abby wake up, and then they could do the Abby thing for the finale where they show her at her encampment. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to fit her in until yeah, because then it makes me wonder how long is season 3 going to be? Like how many episodes are they going to do to fit
I
I
mean,
all
how
this
think
long are
it's
shit
they gonna
in?
drag this out?
Yeah.
Like, this could
I
be
think
4
it's
seasons.
no,
Oh
I think
yeah,
it's
I didn't
still
even think of
no,
that.
I don't know. I think it's still going to be 7 episodes, but here's the thing, guys. Like, I still feel like if they stick with this trajectory with Ellie's side of the story, and then in the finale showing Abby, um, like revealing Abby, whether they get into a brawl or not, I feel like that needs to happen to readdress her. Because at this point, there's so much arc right now with Ellie that I feel like if they diverted our attention to Abby, it's gonna give us the same feeling we had in the game, where it's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, like why am I playing as this person now?
Yeah, because
Like,
here's the thing: in the game, we didn't get time to breathe after Joel's death because we played as Abby, his killer, right away. Like it was like, boom, here you go, and we're just like, the fuck.
right, but just that you have to abruptly like switch perspectives. They just kind of drop it on you. I feel like that would be a disservice um at the rate of where this show is going
Yeah,
now. So I still see them doing flat. Now here's the other thing, like we've seen this happen in movies before and in TV shows where they just sprinkle in flashbacks. So that can also be like a plot device. As they're moving through like conflicts throughout the episode, they're just kind of sprinkled in and it covers those 5 years since the last game, 4 years since the last game. Um, I don't know. That's kind of like my theory for the next episode.
do you
We're
think they
gonna
weave both flashbacks? Because remember, we do get Abby's flashback with her dad in the game. Remember?
Yeah,
Do
because
you
I'm like,
think they
that needs to
weave?
be shown as well.
So, do you think they weave both of those flashbacks together, where they show Ellie with Joel in the
No,
zoo while
no.
because we haven't
showing?
shown any Abby stuff, so
So it
I
wouldn't
just
make sense.
Nah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Like, it's all speculation right now, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
But I am excited for episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, everyone else, tune in next week for discussion of episode 6. See you guys next time. Take care.
Thank you.